back to this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Rohde. I am joined alongside baseball specialist Tony Cepeda. London could not make it today due to illness. No, he does not have coronavirus, so do not worry about it. But we are here today because we are hitting on the recent week of baseball in Chicago and the great debate of ketchup and mustard on a hot dog. As some of you may know from my Twitter, I tweeted at the Chicago Cubs, so sup at Cubs. And on my hot dog, I had ketchup and mustard with a beautiful beer. Tony was all about the beer. He wasn't about the dog. And all I have to say is that, yes, I put ketchup on a hot dog. It is a great Chicago debate. I got absolutely torched by it from about 300 people. But shout out to everyone that was like, do whatever you want. I think that it is, yes, true. Do not put ketchup on a hot dog if you're from Chicago. No doubt about it. I knew what I was doing posting that picture. I was like, this is going to suck. And the Cubs actually warned me, we would retweet this, but you might get in trouble. And sure enough, I had already drinking the first beer in case you were in our live stream. But I was feeling it, and I was like, yeah, I'm all for it. Didn't turn out very well, but that's what created today's debate. So what is the proper way to eat a hot dog? Because I also then on Saturday tried to redeem myself and put only relish, onion, and mustard on a dog. Didn't turn out well because I still got roasted there too. So Tony, start to kick things off. A Chicago dog, if I'm correct, comes with poppy seed bun, Vienna beef hot dog, onion, tomato, which is ketchup, ketchup is made from tomatoes. Just keep that clear. Mustard, relish, and then and you can put peppers on it. Some weird people put like sweet peppers on it, but that is a Chicago hot dog. And in my defense, I technically did not do anything wrong because if I would have put tomato on it, everyone would have been like, it's fine. All it was is tomato and syrup put together. Tony, let's start with your take on the great Chicago hot dog debate.
So I overall, as a stance, have no issue with ketchup on a hot dog. However, it's not a Chicago hot dog if there's ketchup on the hot dog. That's kind of where I stand on it. So yeah, you were right. It's mustard, onion. It's like sweet green pickle relish or something. I looked this up just to get the exact stuff. Sport peppers, celery salt, tomatoes and pickles on that poppy seed bun, Vienna beef, of course, always. So I don't like tomatoes and pickles, so I just don't get that on there. I get it. It's just, I don't like the consistency of tomatoes, but I do like ketchup. So I actually think you're wrong on the fact that they're the same thing because I like one, not the other. It's that extra sugar that, it just completely changes what it is. You can say it's a tomato smoothie, something I've heard people jokingly call it that. I guess, do whatever you want with
that.
That's
a gross smoothie to drink.
As someone who went to school in Wisconsin, everyone puts ketchup on their hot dogs. That's a hot dog with ketchup. That's fine. Not a Chicago dog. That's kind of just where I stand on it.
Now, to defend what you just said, in Wisconsin, it's okay. But remember, the Packers, the Bucks, and the Brewers are up there. So we don't speak upon that. Tony went to college at University of Whitewater. Shout out to Whitewater. But, okay, London was on. I know London was very against my hot dog. But here is my defense, and I want everyone to hear this. At Wrigley, if that is the true case, they should not hand ketchup out because of COVID. It's only in the little packets. They don't have the common stand where you used to be able to pump it, grind up your own onion, your own like all that stuff. So I was handed mustard and ketchup. And sure, I could have thrown the ketchup out, but then also the Wrigley Field concession stands need to learn, do you want it a Chicago way or do you want to do it the other way? So, but I think I offset it because I had a large Bud Light in the outfield on a beautiful Friday afternoon, Cubs, Braves, bad game, great atmosphere. It was awesome to be back. I sat front row in center field, was able to put my beers on the wall, was able to put anything on the bottom. The hookup was unbelievable. But the hot dog, I guess I missed out on. So my deepest apologies to the fans of the Chicago Cubs and overall Chicago fans as a whole. But thank you, Tony, for your take on the dog. Let's get into let's get into the whole point of what this podcast is about. So we're going to kick off with the Cubs first because the Cubs are they're struggling. They are just not doing well. Reporters are already saying it's time to sell. ESPN saying it's time to sell. Everyone is like, the Cubs are not what they used to be. And it's hard to say that because the team has really not changed drastically on the defensive and offensive side of the roster. Pitching, by all means, it has been a constant rotation of new pitchers every year. That's not the greatest thing. And the most consistency we had was 2014 to 2016. Of course, we won the World Series in 2016. So, the constant change isn't helping, but there's a lot of tension between the front office and players. Javi Baez turned down an extension for $180 million. I think that was underpaid, in my opinion. I'm sure that Jed Hoyer's counter was that we had to be able to sign Chris Bryant, Wilson Contreras, Anthony Rizzo, all these other names. That I understand, no doubt about that. But then also Anthony Rizzo did not get a contract extension, which the Cubs offered him 5 years, $77 million, a complete slap to the face of a guy that's been the face of the franchise, brought the Cubs to World Series, was there for the good years, the bad years, just total slap to the face. So, and then Chris Bryant still doesn't have a deal. Chris Bryant's off to a very good start compared to what the last couple of years have been. I don't want to say Chris Bryant is the kind of player that only plays when he needs to get paid, but that's also the kind of the vibe it's going for. And then finally, David Ross, I don't know how I feel about him as a manager. I think he's too inexperienced. I think he was given this awesome roster and he played COVID ball. He did really good in the beginning, but then you get swept by the Marlins in the playoffs. So, Tony, a lot thrown at you. I know that you have a lot of big takes on the Cubs, but what are you thinking about the Cubs' struggles? Do we sell? Do we keep? What does Jed Hoyer need to do in order to keep this roster together and happy?
So I'll start with first. It's kind of funny. So everything seems to be just kind of the problem. There is just you can point at every side of the ball, side of the, the bat side of the roster. Except for Anthony Rizzo, he seems to be like the bright spot against the Braves. He had like 2 home runs. He was really the only good thing of that blowout on Sunday Night Baseball. But that's also the biggest problem because like you said, 5 years, $77 million is just straight up embarrassing. We talked about it on another podcast, but it's a problem they created for themselves. I apologize. And that was just a super easy fix. Just give him the money. I guess I don't know what he's asking for. I imagine it's a lot because he hasn't gotten like his big paycheck yet. But at the same time, I'm sure if you didn't lowball him at 575 or 577, he would have taken a little bit of a deal, something where if he went somewhere else, he'd want a little more. So that they're just shooting themselves in the foot with that. Overall consistency as well. Like they did, they'll win, they'll lose the first game, win the second game of a series. Everyone's like, oh, they're back. Wilson Contreras. They had that big explosion on Saturday.
6 home runs in 1 inning. Yeah, something crazy like that.
Yeah, they had a big explosion against the Braves on Saturday, and then they got pounded on Sunday. So it's just kind of that seesaw is really hurting them. They got to figure it out. Yeah, I don't know whether they should sell or at the deadline or keep this team together. Whatever they do, they got to pick one because right now it really is, like I said, it's that seesaw where they're going to be kind of in the middle of the pack. They're going to kind of just lose everyone for nothing, and draft picks don't matter as much in baseball. I think they matter, but some people don't think that. But you're kind of just going to be like the Bulls with the 7th pick. That's nothing. That doesn't help you at all. So, and yeah, plus, the last point I'll make is they got to stop with. I feel like they're focusing a little too much on some of these petty problems, like Wilson Contreras made with the Brewers and stuff. And I'm kind of in the middle here because Wilson Contreras does lean into pitches, but David Ross and I don't even know that reliever's name should not have gotten suspended for throwing it behind Brandon Woodruff. I mean, they hit Wilson Contreras like 4 times. Like that just doesn't seem fair. But I do think that right now they're not in a spot where they should be focusing on that. They got to be focusing on good baseball.
Yeah, and like you raised a super, super good point, and all of them are good points. But your best point, in my opinion, was in regards to saving money, getting draft picks. You could draft a guy in the 20th round of the MLB draft, and he could turn out being an all-star. I mean, look at Yermin. Look at Yermin. I mean, the dude was undrafted, no? He's ripping it up.
Yeah, I think he was like technically drafted, but it was like the 100 millionth round by like the Nationals like 9 years ago. It was a completely inconsequential draft pick. Exactly.
I mean, baseball is a sport where you can be as fat as Prince Fielder or as ripped as or as skinny as who's that guy that like made the face at the Astros last year? The Dodgers reliever.
Oh, Joe Kelly.
So he could be built like Joe Kelly or Carl Edwards or you can be as big and ripped as Jason Hayward. Like baseball, you can be in any shape or condition and be a good ball player. Like that's the beauty of it. Like, a fat guy out in the stands can do something just as talented as someone on the field. But, in regards to the cap, if the Cubs get rid of all these guys, they're not really saving that much cap. They're not paying these guys crazy amounts of money. And free agency is just not, I feel like free agency is not the same like it used to be in MLB. I mean, like when the Cubs built that team in 2007 and 2008, Alfonso Soriano, Derek Lee, Aramis Ramirez, like a lot of, I mean, Nomar Garcia Parra in 2005, a lot of these guys came from free agency. You don't hear about like the big signings anymore. Like Mike Trout has stayed with the Angels his entire career. Javi Baez has stayed with the Cubs his entire career. Tim Anderson has stayed with the White Sox his entire career. Like guys are Aaron Judge has stayed with the Yankees his entire career. Like you have these guys that are much more loyal to these teams, which I respect. Like I love when guys are loyal. Like the NBA is boring. Like the NBA, like everyone moves around every 3 or 4 years. This is the greatest free agency class ever. It's every year because guys are just constantly moving and creating these super teams, which Tony is going to hit on super teams in a little bit later today. But the Cubs have just built this awesome roster. They know each other, but there's got to be something that's going on. And if they trade the team away, I could see them all going to Washington because you got John Lester and Schwarber out there, or San Diego can't take anyone anymore. They don't have money for like the next 2 decades. But overall, I'm with you. Like trading is not going to do much. And I'm kind of in the boat where drafting in baseball isn't as big of a deal unless you're getting a guy like Mike Trout, like unless you're getting a KB prospect. But it's a luck of the draw. And unless we got some super good young players out of it on their rookie contracts that could play for us for 2 or 3 years, build like a quick roster, maybe. But, kind of getting into my last point here that I want to hit on, and I know you have something to say about it, but the Cubs are losing to teams they cannot lose to, especially within the division. For example, they aren't winning the season series against the Pirates or Brewers. The entire division is not performing the way we thought. Like the Reds are the best team in the division right now, which is always a thing that you say at the beginning of the season because the Reds always start out hot and then they cool off when summer comes around. But I don't know about this Reds team. This Reds team is looking pretty good. But the Cardinals are not meeting expectations either. Cardinals fans are super frustrated with the Cardinals. The Cubs, have had the same core for years. The Brewers are not what they used to be, even though their roster really hasn't changed drastically. And the Pirates have always sucked. Like, let's just make that clear. So, as a Cubs fan, I'm super concerned we can't win division games. We can't win games. And like you said, it's like a seesaw. But I know you wanted to hit on kind of division opponents a little bit.
Well, the crazy thing is, so the Cubs are technically in last place in the NL Central, and things seem bleak. They're only 3 games out, and so we were kind of looking at the schedule, you and I, before we started. And they got the Mets, who are actually kind of hot right now, but at the same time, there is that stigma around the Mets of they always blow it, like more than the Cubs had that until they won the World Series. The Mets is that times like 5 at this point. So you can get 2 or 3 there, and then you got the Brewers coming up. Again, that's those division games that you haven't been winning, but that goes a long way at the end of the season because you play them 19 times or whatever a year. So that would be, if you take 2 or 3 of the next 2 series, you're right back in the driver's seat, or at least you're close to it. Unless the Reds, win 7 straight games, which, hey, who knows? Crazy things happen in baseball. But as a gambling man, I would bet they're not going to do that. So, you kind of go into May with the lead. That kind of gives you a little confidence. And I just think that's really their way out of this. Otherwise, you start to doubt yourself. You start to that gap kind of widens. You feel like you have to get it all back in one game, which obviously we know you can't. But each game hurts a little more. Death by 1,000 cuts. And I think this is kind of a big week that sets up, I think, the next couple months.
And just before, because you said you're a gambling man, we're about to go into Tony's takes. The one thing that I have to agree, I completely agree with you on, is the fact that they said this on Sunday Night Baseball, is that the Cubs, late May, which is not far around the corner, the Cubs need to start making decisions what they want to do. If they're playing good ball, they're in second place, first place, keep the roster. Ride this out because this could be the last shot for a minute. But if they're below 500, looking at 3rd, 4th, 5th, hopefully not, just get rid of everyone. Blow it up. But the one guy that you got to keep, and like you said, is Anthony Rizzo. You have to find a way to keep that guy on your roster. but he might not even want to stay if you get rid of everyone. You might have to keep at least one other person. So like it's kind of like the kid at school. Like you need one friend on your team. And if you get rid of everyone, I mean, he'll have Jake Arrieta, but Arrieta's only on 1 year deal. If you re-sign Contreras, you need to re-sign Contreras and Rizzo if I had to choose two. But that's kind of where we're off with the Cubs. Going into gambling, going into Tony's takes. Tony, give me your takes of the day before we go into White Sox.
So I think I mentioned on the last one my favorite bet in just all of sports, but obviously this applies to baseball, so it's perfect. Is the first inning ties. I love the first inning ties so much. It's better than there's the will they score a run, yes or no in the first inning. Those are fine, but if you take no on that, you can get the same result. With taking the tie 0-0, but you also can kind of hedge it with okay, it's 1-1. It's still a tie. It's like the odds are basically the same. So basically what I'm going to do all week, because it's been happening kind of consistently, is taking both for the Sox and for the Cubs. Well, I guess it didn't work out great yesterday, but take that first inning tie all week. Going to ride it, just going to keep rolling it over. Hits pretty consistently. That's my take. Might hit, might not. It's all for entertainment purposes only, of course, but let's make some money while we're doing it.
All right, absolutely, absolutely. And then kind of going off of Tony's takes, Tony, White Sox, are they on the right track? Because the Cubs are not. The Cubs are not on the right track. But let's go to the south side of the city. Are the White Sox on the right track? What are you feeling as things develop? Obviously, today was not a good day for White Sox baseball. But prior to today, how are you feeling, especially after this weekend?
So the Sox are in a little bit of a less dangerous situation in the Cubs where they'll win 2 games, they'll look awesome. You got the Carlos Rodon no hitter. They had won the night before, and then like games like today where they lose 11-4 to the Red Sox. So they kind of, and there's some defensive errors and like the pitching wasn't great. Lucas Giolito got knocked out right after the first inning. So overall, I'm fine, but there's just the little cracks that I'm worried about as the season goes on. So we get to playoff baseball where good teams expose that. Like the Red Sox have been playing great baseball this year. They took advantage of that when they could. And actually, another Tony's take I'll throw in here just for fun is that Yermin Mercedes might be a Hall of Famer already. His first career defensive play, whatever, was a 65-mile-an-hour pitch to like the number 3 hitter on the Red Sox today. He's never played, in the field in Major League Baseball, except when they're like, wow, we have no pitchers. We used all our pitchers in the doubleheader yesterday. And he did good. He gave up 1 run. He almost struck a guy out. It was pretty dang close.
Almost
counting my book.
Almost
pretty close. So he's amazing. He's still hitting like crazy. So that's good just in general for the Sox. Kind of keep that, hopefully kind of carry some weight until Jose Abreu, who's been really struggling, kind of figure it out. I saw a stat. He is on pace for the 3rd year in a row to lead the league in double plays hit into, which isn't great. But that's kind of what you get with him. He's a big power guy. He's slow. He's not going to beat those plays out. Tim Anderson's back, which is awesome. He had a decent game the past couple of games. It's kind of just been,
first
slapping
hit was a home
singles,
run.
doubles. Yeah, he's looking good. So that's good to see. No lingering issues so far with that hamstring. Kopech looked awesome. I know he's kind of working his way back to a starter. I'm not sure what they're going to do with him yet. They're going to kind of use him as that long reliever, that 6th starter kind of guy. But obviously, the doubleheader games are 7 innings, so they had him start yesterday. He was perfect through 4. Got into a little trouble. Pitch count got a little high. They took him out. They still won that game. And then the last thing I'm going to touch on for the Sox, at least, is Liam Hendricks is here. He had a double save yesterday, because he had, first game of the doubleheader, second game of the doubleheader. It was awesome. No runs. I don't think he gave up any hits. I think the second one was an 11-pitch save. It was awesome. All right, I talked myself back into it. We're good. We're going to the World Series. I'm going to be there. I got season tickets. Let's go White Sox.
Tony is a confirmed season ticket holder. He will be at whatever game he wants to go to at the World Series, at the G spot, as he would say. So, I hope that the Sox do go to the World Series this year. I mean, as a Chicago fan, like not having postseason baseball is really boring. It's super exciting that the Cubs and Sox are both good at the same time. If they don't blow things up over on the north side, I mean, you always love to entertain the thought of an intercity World Series because no one has home field advantage. No one has home field advantage. I mean, yes, technically you do, but like fans wise, like you know, you have rich Sox fans, you have rich Cubs fans. Like they're gonna both fill up the stadium and try to buy up what they can. And you know, we haven't seen White Sox Cubs beef probably since AJ Przinsky and Michael Barrett. I would say maybe a little bit after. And of course, with like, you know, when you and I were probably like in middle school or something, like you always defend whatever team that you're a fan of, but like in reality, no one cares. But you know, being older now, like I think it'd be way more fun to actually have some decent beef with White Sox. No, Tony and I are not going to reach through the camera and pull each other's faces off, but you know, it could happen. But all I'm saying is that like the Sox are definitely on a better track than the Cubs. I think that the Sox are still one of the most talented teams in baseball, not just in the AL. So more to come on that. I did the Sox with the loss today. They're still under 500, right? I believe they're
Yes,
7-8.
yeah, they're 2.5 games back. The Royals are like 9-5, but kind of like with the Reds, they'll cool off. I'm not worried about the
I'm about to
Royals. They
say
don't
the
have the
Royals are
roster
hot.
built to win. They're hot, but you know, again, it's just April. You know, for the Royals, it'll be just another year, I'm sure. So,
Oh, sheesh. Uh, but with that, that's kind of our update for today. So again, the great Chicago hot dog debate was discussed today. It is confirmed. Do not put ketchup on a hot dog if you want to say that you're from Chicago, especially if you're at a Cubs game. And for the love of God, at least the team gave me a warning before posting it. So shout out to the Cubs for that. But we also hit on the Cubs today. So hopefully more to come on that. Let's not blow up the team, but it's starting to lean towards it. Remember Tony's takes. Tony's takes will be in the comments. And then finally, we wrapped up today with everything White Sox. So with that, thank you very much for joining us on Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Rohde, joined alongside Tony Sapita, and we will see you guys next time.